Hey everyone, welcome back to Connecting Women in Insurance with me, your host Julie. Today we'll have an international flair, so be sure to tune in and find out where our guest is from. And before you do, please like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss any further episodes. Joining me today, all the way from London, is Miss Sarah Sutton. She is the Chief Marketing Officer at Send. Hi Sarah, how are you?
Hi, Julie. I'm really great, and thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited to talk to you today.
I'm excited as well. So tell me a little bit about what you do at Send and
hmm
what your day-to-day life is like.
Okay. So I'm CMO at Send. Send is an underwriting platform, so a software vendor that we sell to commercial and specialty insurers. We are a London-based scale-up. We're now at a point that we are in multiple countries, and we've got growth in the UK, and we've got growth in North America, and we're on a really rapid scale-up journey. We've hit 20 customers, we've got a great pipeline, and it's just been an absolute joy to be part of the story around building the brand and building the engagement and the excitement around what we do and how we help underwriters to transform. My day to day is very varied. As I've learned in a scale up, you can't have an ego, Julie. You can be ordering pens one day and then talking to the board the next, and anything in between. And you've got to be scrappy and ready to be in the trenches, and you've equally got to be able to be strategic. So I think that's what I love about it. Is there's a bit of everything.
Yes. So how does that play out with home life? Like, do you have a good, we've talked about this and from what it sounded like, you really have a great work schedule as far as being able to balance home with that.
I think it's the way that I like to think about balance is I don't think on any one day you get balance. I
No.
think one day work wins, one day home wins,
Mm-hmm.
one day your mental health wins, one day your fitness wins, and on any day they're not all going to beautifully
Right.
come together. But I think if you look at it over a period of time, if you look at it over that month or that year, you can think and check in with yourself. Do I feel like there's enough balance? And I think most parents, most carers, most of us with other responsibilities, we are all juggling. We're all trying to find that balance. And I found at Send that because when I joined and we were in fast growth startup mode, that was harder. We were all hustling, and we were all head down, and we just needed to really focus. And at the same time, I've got a daughter who's in primary school and elderly parents, and I'm sure many of your listeners can relate to that. So I'm at a point now where I feel like I've got better balance. It's something I have to consciously work on. It doesn't happen. I think it's something where you plan for, and you need to be quite diligent with it. And also, I think maybe it's also a bit of my age now, where I'm just a little bit more accepting that not everything's going to get done, and that's kind of fine.
It is. I think that was very well said because it is an average. Like
Yeah,
you take the whole and look at it and did it for the most part balance out.
yeah,
I can go ahead and tell you that fitness hadn't won one day this week. I mean, the one day this year for me.
yeah.
I mean, I have good intentions, but whatever. Maybe next week. Okay, so tell me how you got started in the insurance industry. Was it like something you always wanted to do, or did it just happen?
It was total chance how I fell into the insurance industry, and I was in the UK. I moved over from South Africa, and I'd been working in the UK for a property surveying company, which I loved. I'd been there 5 years, and I was just ready to look for something different. I worked in their technology team, and it made sense that I start to look for another technology type role. And this opportunity came up to work for a tech-based company that provided services to the London insurance market. to be honest, I didn't have any idea about the London insurance market. It didn't sound very interesting. It didn't sound very sexy. It sounded very, it sounded quite traditional and old-fashioned. But the more I went through the recruitment process, the more I think a lot of those beliefs just got shattered when I realized actually this was a pretty exciting role that had an ability to create, to transform, and that's exactly how I felt when I fell into the industry and have since, which is the optics are all wrong, and actually when you're in the industry, it's super exciting, and most people stay and grow and change roles and move into different companies, but a lot of people don't leave, and that's testament to, I think, the fact that there's a lot of goodness within this industry.
Oh, yes.
We are slow to change. We've moved slower than other industries, but I really feel now that we're at a really exciting point of advancing digitally, culturally, and I find it super exciting. And that was 20 years ago. I was in the industry for about 10, and then I took a career a break away from that when my daughter was very little, and I worked as a marketing consultant for many other companies where I was just freelancing, which suited me really well. And then 5 years ago I came back into the industry with Send, and I've loved it, and I'd love to do more to help bring in young talent, fresh talent, older talent that wants to retrain, because I think once you get past the facade and the optics of it, actually there's great stuff going on.
Oh, I agree. I think that's why I do this, because I think the insurance industry is an extraordinary industry. Once you get in it, you're right. It's very interesting, because most people think insurance and they think, oh my God, how boring. But it's anything but boring. And what other industry, or how many other industries out there will let you take a break and then come back strong, and come back like you weren't really gone. Like, it's like, oh, hey, it's like this big family reunion, and you get to know people, and it's really nice, because other people have told me how they needed to take a break for whatever reason, take care of family members, or there was a move or something, whatever. But like a year or two later, they were able to get back in, and they either navigated in the same space or they moved to a new one, but they were able to jump back in. So I appreciate the insurance industry with its flexibility for that. Like, and I'm sure
I
you
think you're
do
right.
too.
It's a community, isn't
Mm-hmm.
it? And obviously within that you've got to find your own tribe. But I think you're right. I didn't join the dots up like that, but I like what you said around leaving and coming back, because that is what it's felt like. And many of the people that I then reconnected with, some of which stayed in the same roles, some of which have moved on, it did feel very welcoming and
Mm-hmm.
warm. I felt a bit unsteady in myself, because you do when you
Mm,
come back into something,
and that's natural.
and you doubt, you think, have I forgotten all the things I knew, and am I going to be good enough, and you think about all those things. But actually everyone around me made me feel very comfortable, and particularly what I found at Send, which I've never found anywhere else, and it's that I can be myself. And I know that sounds like quite a simple thing to say,
No.
but actually it was only when I've been at Sin myself that I realized what a mask I have had on in previous roles. And in my 20s, when I grew up in quite male dominated, the insurance industry when I joined was
Mm-hmm.
still, and it still is, sadly, the balance is not there, but it was very much so 20 years ago. And I think I put on whatever mask I felt I needed to, adapt to that environment. But now maybe it's also being slightly older, you're more confident, I'm a little bit more accepting. I Sen created that home that when I came back in, not only did I come back and I felt like there were friends and friends I hadn't connected with for a while, but I felt really comfortable, and it 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 makes all the difference.
It does. It does. And everybody puts on a mask. I mean, everybody does. And especially when you're
Mm.
younger, because you're not sure, you're still trying to figure yourself out. But
Yeah.
I do think with age and with experience, at some point you get in life, you're just like, it's just, it's way too much work to try to do that. I'm just going to be myself, and not rudely so, but if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay. Like, I'm okay with
Totally.
someone not liking me, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt my feelings. I mean, you're welcome to like me or not like me. It's really, that doesn't change my view of you, but I've got to stay true to me. And
Yeah.
I think staying true to yourself is a lifelong process. Like, I don't think it's
Yeah.
just one day you're there and you never have to worry
Mhm.
about it again. I think you're
Mhm.
there and you grow in it, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
But
It's true.
I do think age and having some life experience does help remove the masks and remove what you think other people want you to do. And a lot of times it's just all up here. You know,
Yeah.
we've 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 made up we've just made ourselves think that we need to put on a mask, and we really don't. And I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think particularly, and I grew up in South Africa in what was quite a traditional environment. There is an expectation around behavior.
Hmm.
There's conditioning, and there's all those things that you don't realize are going on until you're older, and you can challenge yourself and think,
Hmm.
well, hold on, I need to just check that bias, so I need to check that way of thinking,
Right.
and it sort of catches up with you, and I feel really privileged that I've been able to come back into a company that just has given me that freedom that I can be myself, and that's good enough, and and maybe it's at a juncture in my life where I'm also am feeling just more comfortable with who
Hmm.
I am, um, or maybe just I don't want to say caring less, because I don't care less, but I just don't think I worry so much about the things that I used to worry about.
Yes, that's it. You just don't worry as
Mm,
much. It's not that you don't
yeah.
care. You just don't worry
No.
because you
Yeah.
finally learn what you can and can't control, and you
Yeah.
you can't worry about what you can't control. And that's amazing that you found a company that
Mm,
allows you to be authentic and to be you and bring the smart and the silly and the strategic and the fun and all the things with
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
I love that.
And those are all the things that we have a lot of fun at Send, and we also work really hard and get
Mhm.
our heads down, but we're a very kind organization, and I've flourished in that environment, and we're all different. We all need different things, so that's not going to be for everyone, but for me, that's been a brilliant home.
That is amazing. So, okay, so in your career from beginning to now, did you ever make a mistake or a decision and you thought, oh, that's the end of it. I've got to start over. I'm going to get fired, whatever. But you learned a valuable lesson, and maybe a lesson that not only helped you later in your career but helped someone else.
Mm. So, I mean, haven't we all
Yes.
had many, many moments,
Oh,
and
many.
personal moments, professional moments, and our failures often can end up being our biggest successes. When I was working at the tech company that I joined, that is based in the London insurance market, and I'd been there for 12 years. The company was very ambitious. It kept growing. It was very acquisitive. So over those 12 years, I had lots of different roles. I had lots of great managers. I had really great support. But towards the end of my time, my daughter had been born. She wasn't sleeping. I was in a really senior role. I had teams in different geographies, and I was just getting very close to the edge of that burnout, and I just thought I've just got to exit. I've got to take my foot off the gas, because I couldn't see a way through that I could still carry on with being a mum and the expectation of the role when I was working off like an empty gas. And so they offered a redundancy program, which I took. But as part of it, there definitely was a sense of relief, and I think I was just totally exhausted. I just felt like I just wanted an out. But I felt really disappointed, I think, in myself, in that I hadn't been able to hold these two constructs together. And it was only later, and when I took a break, and then I just thought, I'm just going to have a break, and who knows what I'm going to do, and something will materialize. And someone I used to work with contacted me and said, I hear that you're not working there anymore. Can you do some part-time marketing? And I said, maybe, let me have a look. And it sounded quite interesting what they needed. And they were like, it's a 6-week project. Just take it on, do a few days a week. And I loved it. And from there, I got another referral. And then suddenly I was running a marketing consultancy that I didn't foresee or plan. It just organically grew. And about a year into that, when I looked back, I was, with retrospect, thinking that was the best thing I ever did, was leaving that company and allowing the space for something new to grow that I didn't know and couldn't see and didn't really shape. But I just had belief that something would happen, and it did. And then I had enough really good relationships, and that's the other thing about this industry, Julie, which you'll know, is like, don't burn any bridges, because you never know. And I've had some great client work as a result of just people saying, I remember you, and I remember this is what you did, and this person referred me. And when I looked back on that, I thought, that was quite a dark time when I went through that redundancy, and I thought, what does my future hold? And then it was later that I realized I'd created something that was really, a really fantastic opportunity. So I think lesson for me in that, and part of the lesson is the resilience. So we are all more resilient. Well, we're all more brave than we know, and we're all more resilient than we know. That's not always tested, but I've realized I'm a lot more resilient, and I do bounce back well. And then I also realized that sometimes you don't know what the path is, and that doesn't mean you don't stop going down the road. It just means you can't see where it's going, and you've just got to know and believe that the right things are going to happen. And for me, they did. So it was a lovely moment further down the line, after I got over all the angst and the exhaustion and everything like that. And I looked back, it probably was the best thing that happened to me.
That's beautiful. Almost all of the women who have been on here have had moments like that. And where a couple of them were like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know how the bills are going to get paid. I don't know whatever. And then they formed these beautiful companies, or they stepped into this new space that they had no idea they would thrive in, and I think that's just it, is, like you said, you have to have the resilience, but it's also believing that everything will turn out the way it's supposed to. You just have to keep going. You can't lay down and wallow in it. You have to keep going. That is the common denominator with every woman I've interviewed, is you keep going. And life is just it is a series of ups and downs, and I think
a roller coaster. It really is.
And I think you taking that time, seeing that you needed to take that time, and taking that time is a level of maturity that a lot of people don't ever get to, because you think you're supposed to be able to handle it all, and not necessarily. Like, something will give at some point. So you have to prioritize. And I love that you prioritized you and your family. And because when you do that and then you finally relax, it does open up your creativity. It opens up
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
your perception of things, and it opens you up to be to look at different options and different things. So I love
Mm.
that. That's very inspiring and encouraging.
Yeah, thank you. I also think we are, and I've learned that we are totally replaceable at work,
Hmm.
but we are not replaceable at home.
Exactly.
So that
That
that has
is,
to be the priority.
yes, that is perfectly said.
Mm.
So,
And not everyone has the privilege then of being able to have that break or to have that moment where they can step away. And so I feel really lucky that
mhm.
I did and that I had the opportunity, but also that I could just turn it into something that I think there's so much about this career progression ladder and the pressure of the moving up the ladder, and actually sometimes you can just step off the ladder or you can step sideways on the ladder,
Mhm.
and there's a pivot moment, and you can, you might not see it, you might not plan it, but actually you don't always need to keep going up.
Right.
And sometimes that moment where you just step off and look at things differently helps you think about progression or success or however you want to define it in a slightly different way.
I love that. So, who who was or is the biggest influence in your life, personally and professionally, and why?
Gosh, I think that's a really good question because I don't think I have one person. I I grew up in a household with hardworking parents
Mhm.
who definitely instilled the discipline of hard work into me. So I there was always an element of there's reward for it and you need to be playful at the same time, but I definitely have them to thank for the ethos of working hard. um, and then I think my husband's he's absolutely amazing, and he is um, he's in a different field to me, but he is a highly qualified technology director with this wonderful human empathy and deep EQ, which you don't often see those things going hand in hand. And he's a brilliant people leader, and I feel just even the conversations we have at the end of the day, and I probably am learning and growing a lot from the things that I pick up from him, which are in the passing, in how I observe how he is, how he responds. He's very thoughtful, very calm, has a very quiet leadership style that can be that is at odds, I think, with more of the alpha male bravado, noisy style. He's shown me that there is a very different way, and that's not a weakness. It's
No.
just different, and there's a quiet strength that I think I've seen from him that that I've witnessed and appreciated. So yes, I think continually I'm learning and growing, working with him.
That is just beautiful. Like, you know, um, I've said this on here before. My daughter's made the comment about some substitute teachers, and one of them I thought they would like, and they're like, oh no, no, she can't control the class. All she does is scream and holler. She raises her voice all the time. But this other one, they're like, oh, I'm so glad we have her. And I'm like, why? She's quiet. She just says it one time. She
Mm.
instructs us and we move on. Like it, she keeps order. And I think what you're saying is probably a much stronger style of leadership than the do what I say kind. You know, um, it's the watch and learn and follow the example kind that I think are much more productive and more well respected. So I think that's wonderful that you
Definitely.
have him in your life.
Mm,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, and I think it's opened up because my 20s I did work in male dominated parts of the of the insurance industry, and I the model that was presented to me was often the more aggressive
mhm,
behavior, and therefore the leader who is the loudest
mhm,
leads. And this has shown me a completely different style, and in fact not just different but more effective.
mhm.
And my husband Mark's got an incredible ability to bring people with him, and I think it is through that. It's through that quiet um, reserve, and I think it's an underestimated superpower.
It very much is, and I love that. I've had one other lady bring up how supportive her husband was and how much he meant to her. Um, and I love that. I love that you have that partnership and that. And I've got a feeling if I asked him the same thing, he would bring you up. I just have a feeling. Um,
Let's
okay.
see. I'll test him. I'll test him tonight, Julie. Before I show him your recording,
Yeah,
I'll
tell
test
him I
him.
want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so what advice would you give women listening who want to advance in their career, no matter what what industry they're in?
So I think one of the really great examples that's been set for me is around building your network. And in the UK, we've got a very brilliant insurance leader called Catherine Bryant, who runs a community group and a learning group for women, the Insurance Breakfast Club. And she says, don't wait to build a network till you need the network. And this is what we all do. We're head down, we're busy in our jobs, and we think, I don't need to go to that event this evening, or that that meeting over there, or I don't need to connect with that group, because you're so busy. You're busy
Mm-hmm.
head down in your role. And then when you get to the moment where either you are forced to make a change or you want to make a change, then you realize you don't have your community group around you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest to anybody, whatever age they are, is always be thinking about, how do you build your network? How do you find your tribe? How do you build your network? And that can be an online network. There's some brilliant forums, either within your industry or within the function that you are, or there can be in-person meetups. I challenge myself to do one meetup a month, and that a face-to-face networking
Mm-hmm.
event. And come the day, of course, we don't feel like going, and we just wish that we could just go home. But I go along to it, and then something always has come from it, immediately or later, or
Mm-hmm.
I leave and I just think, oh, that was a really good conversation. I'm so pleased I met that person. She was great to talk to. I love what he said. And so I would encourage people to think, how do you build that community? How do you
Mm-hmm.
build that network? How do you, it's like a muscle, you need to put that effort into it. And I would just encourage people to think, write down, how big is my network now? Jot down, make a list of all the people that are in it, the people that you trust, that you could go and approach, ask for advice, ask for a referral. And if it's quite small, if you've jotted that down on a paper and it's quite small, think about how you can strengthen it, and just be proactively doing it in the background every week, every month, just slowly building that up. And I think that gives you the support that you need when you're then ready to make the change. First of all, it gives you a group of people that you can just, chat to and bounce ideas off, and just, challenge each other on. But it also means that you could say, look, I'm thinking of changing. Does anyone have an opportunity for me? And suddenly you've got another 50 people looking out for you. So I think start there.
I love that. And so while you were talking, I was thinking, because you're like expand your network. So some people might think, oh well, it's a clothing boutique. What am I going to do? Or I'm in claims, insurance claims, and I'm in a claims association here where I live. But to expand that, if I wanted to expand that, I might look into a restoration company kind of association and join that, because restoration has to do with insurance. So you want to look, or if it's a clothing boutique, look for a marketing association. Get involved with something that would have to do with your company. I think because that would help broaden your scope, so to speak, or expand your network.
Definitely.
Because you're not always, as you've learned, you're not always going to be, like, I'm not going to always be claims. I may go
No.
and do tear out with whatever company,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm probably not, because it's a little gross, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think so. There are many. There are many member associations, free or paid for ones. And I think you just got to start. You just got to pick one. You might pick one close to to the role that you're in. In the London market, for example, we've got a really great insurance marketers club, the IMC. So that's a great one for me to join. But I'm also part of revenue circle groups that deal with revenue leaders around the world, and I'm part of a CMO club, and so there's other things, and obviously then there's personal things that you can look to develop as well. But I think you'll be amazed. You'll be
Yes.
amazed when you start looking, and just try it, and just go along. Most people feel uncomfortable the first time. Everyone does. And you'll get over that, and the second time will be much easier.
I think that's fantastic advice. Okay, so now I've got some fun questions for you. So you just answer off the
Okay.
top of your head, whatever comes to mind. So, what is your favorite hobby or pastime?
Reading.
Really, any particular genre?
I no, I'm an effusive reader. I read a lot all the time. I do particularly like, and I'm not sure why, I like World War II books. So
Well, they're very
um,
interesting.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, biggest pet peeve. I think one of the biggest things for me is just it's all of my relationships are built on trust, and I show up with trust, and I'm pretty straight talking, and I'm loyal, and I think if I sense there's anything underhand, if there's anything slightly distrustful,
Mm-hmm.
um, slightly scheming, yeah, I really don't like it, and I don't have time for it. I just want people to be direct and transparent and honest. And I think if you sense that, don't you? You can sense if someone's a bit
Mm-hmm.
underhand, or it's just they're very scheming for whatever their own agenda is. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't have time for that.
I agree. Okay, so if you can master any skill, what would it be and why?
Oh,
Anything in the world.
so I I think I'd really like to master the skill of being a very good active listener.
Mm.
And I say that because I actually think there is a huge service you can pay to people by listening to them. I've got a tendency to jump in, and I do want to discuss and chat, and I like a bit of back and forth. And actually, I think if I allowed more space, I think it would be a huge service to others.
That's really great. That's really great. Yes, active listening takes practice, and even for those that it comes naturally to,
Mm.
like because it's really about picking up on things and
Mm-hmm.
keywords, and it's easier to be an active listener when you're face to face because you get the body
The body
language
language.
cues with it. So,
Yeah.
um, but yes, that's an excellent skill to have. Okay, if you were a kitchen appliance or an office supply, what would it be
Oh.
and why?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. Um, do you know what? I think I'd be a stapler because I love joining the dots. I love connecting things. I love connecting people. I get great joy of seeing those things come together. So I think I'd be a stapler and I'd staple everything together.
I love it. That was a great one. That was good. Okay, one more thing. What is one of your bucket list items?
Oh, it is, there's places in the world that I want to go, and I I'd love to see the cherry blossom trees in Japan.
Oh, wow,
Um,
yes.
I don't know when we'll do that. My daughter's terrified of the volume of earthquakes that they have in Japan, which she heard about at school.
Mhm.
So she's like, I am never going anywhere near Japan. So it might be something I do in my retirement, but I just think that would be absolutely incredible. So that's one of them. Um, I've got many. I've got many destinations on my more destinations on my list than I end up crossing out. But I'd love to see more of the world.
Yes, I would too. What's another place?
Colorado.
Really?
I Yes. Oh, I see pictures of those awe-inspiring lakes and mountains, and I just think, imagine just being there in that environment, and I just think it just looks beautiful. So I'd love to do Colorado. I'd love to do Iceland because it's so otherworldly and
Mhm.
again slightly volcanic. So I don't think Bella will be coming with me on that trip.
So if you go to Colorado, you're going to whitewater raft?
Well, I think we probably have
You
to.
have to.
Yeah, but maybe like the grade. What's the lower grade? Is it grade? Are the grade 1 and 2 the smaller ones, or is it?
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know
Okay.
what
Well,
you're talking about.
I'll be doing
The smaller ones, yes.
the children's one. Yeah.
Yeah. The kiddie
Yeah.
rafting.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, Colorado is beautiful. It's very beautiful. Okay, so where do you see the next leg of your journey taking you, personally or professionally?
Mm. Do you know, I find that really hard because I I've never had a game plan and executed on it. So I'm not I am quite an organic person and I go along and then I get a bit stuck and I think I need to change the direction and I feel now I'm love where I work, love the team I work with. But do I want to work at such a high pace for the next 5, 10 years? Probably not, because I want to spend more time with the people I love, and that's going to be far more important. So I don't know what that looks like, and I think I won't know what it looks like, but I'll do what I do, and I'll just go down the path, and then the path will appear.
I love that because I mean that's how I am. You know, there's no oh it has to be this and I have to do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, I like that. Okay, so as we come to a close, do you have any last piece of advice for anyone listening to us today?
So I think for your listeners, I'd want them to think about their network, think about one active step that they can do today, tomorrow, whenever they finish listening to this. What can you do to proactively build your network? And then I'd love to encourage women to be more forgiving for all the amazing things that we get right every single day, instead of thinking about the 10 things that we didn't do on that list. I just love us all to just be a little bit more just supportive of how well we are all doing to navigate our work and our home life and our responsibilities and our health and all the things that go around the edges. I would just say to everyone, you're doing a great job.
I love that. Yes, we all need to give ourselves a little more grace.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Sarah, this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm just so happy that we got to do this together, and I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do it with me.
You're welcome, Julie. I've loved talking to you. Thank you.